So my first question is, what inspired you to open up a video store?
I don't know if inspiration was a part of it. Me and my partner, Meryl, who you know, we went to film school. We went to Ryerson. And upon completion, I won't say graduation, but completion of film school, we both had scripts that we were working on, and we were trying to raise money for them. And you know, the old adage that you raise money through family didn't really strike us as being particularly fair, because the chances of them recouping the money would be so minimal that we didn't really want to do that. And it was hard for us to raise money otherwise. But I don't know what the impetus was, but we started talking about video stores and video rental places, and we decided it was better to raise money or to ask family for money to open a store as opposed to a film, because you had a greater chance of recouping that investment. And the idea was that we'd have access to a lot of distribution networks. So the idea was that the store was going to be temporary. It was only a means to an end, a means to, you know, develop relationships with distributors, so that when we actually made these films, we'd have an open place to send it. But of course that never happened, and you know, it's just the day-to-day running of it took too much time, and you know, a certain amount of inertia set in. And
What year was that?
1990 we started talking about it, and we opened it in 1991.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what became of Meryl?
He was here for a while, and then he decided it wasn't really for him. It was just various aspects of the business sort of drove him a bit crazy, a bit batty, and so he decided to leave, which, you know, he's doing well now, and, you know, I have no other option, so I'm here.
But are you happy you stuck it out?
Yeah, I think it's great. I mean, there's periods where, you know, that you're kind of tired of it, but usually those periods are, you know, when there's just nothing interesting coming out, and you're not rediscovering or discovering for the first time directors that you may not have heard about. But eventually something comes out that reignites your passion for it, and yeah, it's endlessly entertaining.
Who came up with the name?
Well, we were walking along Queen Street, and we went through a ton of names, most of them just horrendous. And as the time was coming up to open and to actually pick one, we were walking along Queen Street, and Meryl had seen a sign, and he had made a comment that it was quite suspect. And I picked up on that, and I thought, that's a great name, you know? I mean, that kind of like describes a lot of what we wanted to carry, which is a lot of non-mainstream stuff, and a lot of maybe things that would annoy or offend, which I found no problem in offending people. As long as that offense was intelligently created, I had no problem with that. So then we decided on Suspect. It was the best of the titles that we came up with, and I still quite like it.
How would you describe the aesthetic of this store?
I'd say it's a real DIY mishmash. You know, a lot of it was just pieces that we found or altered, let's say IKEA shelves, or shelving that's made by an enthusiastic amateur, let's say, which would be me. So yeah, the whole place, it's definitely not uniform in look, other than its ununiformity. Yeah, I would just say that it looks like somebody's maybe basement, you know, where all the furniture is culled from secondhand or tossaways, you know.
So we should point out that Suspect is nestled in a corner of the sprawling megaplex that is Honest Ed's. So why did you guys decide to open up a business in Mavish Village?
Originally we weren't going to. We thought it was too expensive because it's quite close to Bloor Street, and the original plan was to look at Harvard, which was close enough to a lot of things, it's a major street, but it's a minor major street, so we thought the rents would be much cheaper there. And we knew the owners of the Beguiling, the previous owners of the Beguiling, somebody else owns it now, and they were the ones that suggested Mervish Village because the rents were actually really good. They were essentially subsidized by the Mervishes. And so we looked, and it's true. It was like just a great deal. And we are part of the building, but we have a separate entrance. And yeah, they've been great landlords. They're real kind of hands-off people. So we could do whatever we wanted. They never bothered us. They were great.
In 1996, you opened up a location on Queen Street. So what inspired the expansion?
Much like everything we do is by accident. When you're in this store, what you see is what there is. There's really no other space. There's no basement. There's no storage. There's nothing. And so what we were looking for was essentially an office kind of / storage space. And we'd looked around all over the place, and someone knew some of the people that worked at the old record peddler, and they were on Yonge Street at that time. And they were looking to move, and they were moving down to Queen Street, Queen and Bathurst. And what they were renting was this huge space, and they wanted to subdivide it into a separate rental unit that faced the street. And we didn't have a whole lot of space. We probably had initially a smaller space than here. It was maybe 600 square feet. But they were willing to rent it very inexpensively. So we sat down, we thought, well, we can either rent an office for a set amount or pay a slight amount more and have a second store. And so we opted for that. It's the whole buffet thing. You know, you could pay a little bit more and just gorge. And that's what we did. And it included a basement with an office and all that stuff. So, yeah, and then eventually, when the record peddler were kind of downsizing, we acquired more and more space down there until we were half the space that the building housed.
Who are some of the famous characters who've wandered into Suspect over the years?
God. As customers?
Yeah.
All kinds of people. Everyone from like Sarah Polley, Adam McGoyan, let's see, Candyman, Tony Todd was a frequent guy for quite a while. Amanda Plummer, who was an interesting person. Samuel Jackson was a real regular when he was shooting here. Currently, Tim Hunter is coming in. I don't know if you know who that is, but he directed River's Edge and some of the Twin Peaks episodes. Just a lot of people. Some of the Cowboy Junkies, a bunch of, band members. It's hard to list them all because you sort of forget because they just become regulars as opposed to,
Have you ever had anyone really blow your mind who walked through the door?
Yeah, Tarantino. And I am not a star kind of fucker at all. But when he was in, he was at the height of his powers, Pulp Fiction had come out maybe the year previous, and he's quite an imposing figure. He's quite tall. He has a, enormous face. And when he came in, it was just completely, it shocked me. I didn't demonstrate the giddiness I was feeling, I don't think, but maybe I did. And yeah, that kind of blew me away. Samuel Jackson did too. I remember when he came in and he looked around with some friends and he came up to get a membership, and everyone was too intimidated to give him a membership. So I did it, and that was quite funny because he just walked up and he said, well, what do you need for a membership? And I said, well, I need 2 pieces of ID. And I know who you are, but, I need 2 pieces of ID. And so he flashes all these credit cards and says, take 2 of these, my man. And so I did. But he was really nice. He was a very affable guy,
Well, explain that. Even though you knew who he was, why did you demand on the ID? You thought he was going to rip you off?
Yeah. Yeah, because it's happened, Yeah, Kiefer Sutherland kind of, didn't return something. But his mother rented it and then gave it to him, and it was never returned. So, we always need stuff like that, But it's true. You never know. Especially the nature of actors, because they could just be here for a small period of time and then they're back to New York or Los Angeles or wherever. And they just forget that they have things. So there has to be a means of recouping the cost of what they've absconded with.